I was searching around, wondering who would be the foe for the big return of the Mega Minions. Could be you, or it could be you. No, it's gonna be your team. So the stage is set. Welcome back to the new series. Not the new series, the old series, in which the Mega Minions, the Faithful Five, battle against a familiar superhero team. Today, Groot's five best servants will be facing off against the comedically awesome Guardians of the Galaxy. That includes only the ones from the MCU first James Gunn movie official lineup. So that is going to be, in my opinion, Mantis, Drax, Peter Quill, Gamora, and then Rocket and Groot are paired together in this. Now, if you don't know how this series works, I pair each Mega Minion with one or two of the members of that superhero team. They fight in a 1v1 or a 1v2, and the winner of that gets a point. Whichever team has more points at the end of the video is deemed the champion. Now, if you want to check out the earlier episodes, they fought the Justice League, the OG Avengers, and the Fantastic Four earlier, so go check out those. But that brings us to our first matchup, and I'm going to start it off with probably the least anticipated one of the game. That's going to be Mega Gus versus Mega Mantis. Now, if you're not familiar, not Mega Mantis, sorry, Mantis. If you're not familiar with Gus, he turns into and is just this bullet-shaped flying minion. Doesn't have many powers other than being able to fly. He's a smaller guy, but he'll be facing off against Mantis, who can kind of control people's feelings, can understand people's feelings through physical touch, but is not great at hand-to-hand combat. Which is why I'm going to, without explanation, give this one to Mega Gus, and he's going to take the victory against Mantis. Look, Mantis's powers are very limited. She usually has to be touching or sensing somebody in a very close range for her powers to do anything, and she's very weak in hand-to-hand combat, which is what we're relying on here. And, the minions are very complex creatures. I'm not sure her, emotional abilities would work against such amazing minded creatures and complexly minded creatures like these minions. So I'm going to assume Gus is going to be able to weave around her and just kind of land a few strikes to the head and kind of get the win here. So that's going to make it 1-0 Mega Minion. So that being said, the Minions will go in with a 1-0 lead to the matchup of Mega Tim and Gamora. Now, if you're unfamiliar with these two, Gamora is the adoptive daughter of Thanos, the favored daughter of Thanos over Nebula, who is not in this video, but she is green. She was born on a very different planet than Earth. She, doesn't have too many big powers or anything, but she's very good hand-to-hand combat. She's fighting Tim, Tim is basically like Mr. Fantastic, if you know who he is, or Elastigirl. He can stretch indefinitely and you can't cut him. So Gamora, who is a knife person sometimes, wouldn't serve too many purposes here, right? But she does have guns, and guns, in theory, might work against him. Although I think what would really happen is this. I do believe that Gamora, she's very smart and intuitive, and she could probably figure out how to tie up Tim. Now, eventually, if Tim gets tied up, he can untie himself. That is very possible. He can just make himself more stringy and loosen himself, but by the time he's untied himself, I assume Gamora finds a way to trap him and, inject him with some serum or something to put him to sleep. So it's going to be 1-1 now. Gamora's going to take the victory. Now that we are all tied up, our next matchup is Peter Quill of the Guardians of the Galaxy versus Mega Mel of the Mega minions. Now, Peter Quill, half god, but he was born on Earth, and his father is a planet, his mother is an Earth human, and, he held an Infinity Stone one time, which is kind of crazy, and he saved the universe with a dance off. So he's a pretty cool guy, right? But he is kind of foolish. But he flies around with these, jetpack looking things, and he has his two guns in his hand, and he has a cool mask. He goes by Star-Lord. Fitting, I guess. So he'll fight Mel, who has a laser on his head. His eye is a laser, and he can kind of just shoot whenever he wants, although he doesn't have very good control of it. So, here's how this fight's gonna go down. Star-Lord sees how crazy Mel's laser is, and kind of thinks he's cooked, but then he looks around a bit more and sees Mel struggles to carry that laser up on his head. His head swings around on a swivel when he's trying to control that laser. So he sees that, just decides, I'm gonna just, fly around in circles around him, have his laser chase me, and then once I find the right opportunity, I'll come from right above him and shoot him in the head, which is something he very well could do. So, I'm going to give this one to Quill. It is now 2-1, Guardians lead. And in comes matchup number 4. This is a good one. This is Mega Dave versus Drax. Now, they are very similar characters. Drax, alien, but a very human-like alien. He's very strong, can jump very high. And he can stand so incredibly still that it becomes invisible. However, you could say he's not the brightest. I don't know. That's up for interpretation. Mega Dave, not really the brightest either. Or maybe he's sandbagging it to make us think he's dumb when he really is a genius, which is probably more likely. But here's the thing. They both are extremely strong. Mega Dave's serum just made him this huge, strong minion. So, when they face off, they're just punching it out for a while. Drax is saying stupid things, and then Dave is spitting out things that Drax has no clue what he's saying. So anyways, they fight for a while. It's kind of a stalemate. Then Drax decides, oh wait, I have knives. Pulls out one of his knives and tries to cut Dave. It just doesn't work. You see, knives don't really work against minions. As we saw when Blurb, aka Herb, tried to, guillotine him. Anyways, they're kind of immune, right? So, eventually Drax gets tired, and Dave doesn't get tired, right? So Dave kind of wins this one, just almost a stalemate. It really should be a tie, but I'm going to give this one to Dave. And that will tie up the game. It is 2-2 going into our final matchup. Okay, so before we go into this final matchup, I should tell you about the sponsor of this video. Just kidding, there is no sponsor. Although, I'll tell you that there is a new Minions movie out. Minions and Monsters. The Minions make a movie. Isn't that great? Anyways, final matchup. This one's a 2v1 in the Guardians' favor. It's Rocket and Groot, the dynamic duo. It's a tree who only says, I'm Groot, and I love you guys, and we are Groot. And, you'd think he's indestructible, but he dies in the first movie, and his son is born. Anyways, we're doing first movie Groot, Father Groot. And we've got Rocket, this talking, you could call him a raccoon. He wouldn't really like it if you did. But anyways, experimented on as a kid, traumatized. He's a tough guy, he likes shooting people and, all that. And, they're fighting Mega Jerry. Let me tell you about Mega Jerry. He's this huge rock. Indestructible rock, immovable object. Unstoppable force. All that can eat anything. He once, in one of our earlier videos, he drank the entire ocean and killed Aquaman. Go check that out. That's the Justice League video. Anyways, that eating's going to help him again here. Rocket's going to find out pretty soon that shooting and scratching at Jerry isn't going to work. So he resorts to Groot's help. To kill Groot, every part of Groot has to get destroyed. So, Jerry, he doesn't seem very smart, but what you wouldn't know is that he actually is a smart kind of guy. He decides, this raccoon's not going to do anything, so I'm going to go after the big tree thing. And basically what he rolls on over and rolls over one of the roots. Groot doesn't want to let, not roots, but you know what I mean, one of his feet. He's got like twigs on his feet. So anyway, Jerry plops himself right on Groot's foot. Groot doesn't want to let this foot fall off, although he has the power to. So he wraps around Jerry. Jerry, though, uses those little arms he had, grabs hold of one of those, of a little pile of those, roots and twigs that are sticking out from Groot's hand. And he shoves them in his mouth, and he starts slurping up that tree like a spaghetti. And he goes and goes and goes, and you would think Groot can just keep generating those branches. Well, guess what? He can't. Jerry just keeps on chomping at Groot's legs. He can eat anything, as I said earlier. Of course he can eat a walking, talking tree. And he just starts eating Groot like a Slim Jim. And Groot is gone. So now it's just Rocket. And Rocket tries to, avenge Groot. But that didn't go well for Rocket. Jerry just rolls on right through him and takes a bite out of him and decides, this thing's disgusting, it's a raccoon. Let me just, crush him. So he does, giving Jerry the win here. And you know what that means? That means the Mega Minions win this one 3-2. They pull up what some might say is an upset against the Guardians of the Galaxy. But, looking at some of the groups they beat before, by the way, watch the first 3 episodes, it's not too much of a surprise. Anyway, comment down below if there is anybody in the audience. Comment down below. Let me know who they should fight next. I've had suggestions to fight the Invincible team. I need to go watch the show and do some research first. But if you have any other suggestions, let me know. And let me know if I picked the wrong winner in any of these. Anyways, it's written in stone. Nothing can change about this. This is what happened in real life events when the Mega Minions fought the Guardians of the Galaxy. See you later.